Welcome back to War Season House. Mike Russo, Anthony LaPanta, coming to you from Barcelona. Is that how you pronounce it, Anthony?
It can. We've heard it said both ways, and actually it was our tour guide right away that said Barcelona is perfectly acceptable.
Okay, perfect. Another awesomely executed defined destinations trip coming to a close here. It got off to a little bit of a hairy start with a bunch of flight issues, but Michael Kenny did a marvelous job getting the entire group here. Anthony, of course, was on the golf course, had no idea that this was going on, that everybody's flights were canceled at 3 o'clock.
I was on the golf course, that's true.
Yeah.
I found out on the 6th hole that our flight was canceled.
Yeah.
So I did spend about a hole and a half on the phone with Delta because I just wanted to make sure. But I still didn't know that the flight was a different time.
Yeah.
So I was racing home to pick Margot up, and I said, well, wait a minute. You're going on a walk? What the hell? And she said, well, have you looked at any of the messages? Our flight's at 7 o'clock now instead of 3.
And what was funny is, so I actually came with my mom to Madrid a day early. So I had jet lag, and I was reading all of this live stuff, and finally I just, to lighten the mood of everybody stressing out, I just said, essentially there is zero chance that Anthony knows that any of this is going on. And sure enough, somebody sent a picture of you on the golf course saying that I was 100% accurate.
Yeah, we've had some adventures, though. That it was the previous trip, I think, wasn't it, when we had the bomb scare and the Minneapolis airport was shut down?
Yeah.
We had the airport on fire in Catania.
So this is 3 in a row.
We've had a few that have required some scrambling from our fearless leader, Michael Kenny.
And the one in Sicily was unreal, where he basically had to get us off an island to get back to Rome to get our flights home, and he somehow managed to do that. And then he said he was never going to do another trip on an island, and then we hear that he's going to Sicily in like a couple weeks. So
never say never.
So never say never.
He's not traveling with us, so I guess we'll find out.
Apparently, we are the jinxes, Anthony.
Yeah, jinxes aren't real.
So, I don't know about that. All right, so July 28th is our next live show. We will be back in the States for that. That will be at Tuttle's in Hopkins. So if you live in Hopkins, you better be there, Tim. So there's no excuse if you...
And it is a tradition that our whole traveling crew... comes to the first live show after the trip.
That is actually accurate. So July 28th is our next live show at Tuttle. So hopefully everybody comes to that. We will be telling a lot of stories about this trip. We will be talking about the Minnesota Wild. Also, everybody here, Lisa, has to ask at least one question.
That's a lot of
about the Wild. And it'll be a fun show. There hasn't been any Wild news other than the schedule coming out since we left Minnesota. So one by one, we're going to go through all 82 games, Anthony, starting with October 9th at St. Louis. Give us a minute.
The minute will be dinner at Paul Mano's the night before.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to all 41 road games, and we're going to say where we're going to have dinner.
Yeah.
All right. So then,
when I look at the schedule, that's exactly where I look is, okay, so we're going to have an off night in Vancouver, an off night in Calgary, an off night in Seattle.
Exactly. That's a good point. All right. So this is going to be a riveting podcast. So first road game after the home opener, which is October 11th for the second year in a row against Columbus, is at Dallas. Where are we going to dinner?
Isn't Dallas the second of back-to-backs?
All right, we're not going to dinner.
We're not going to dinner.
Actually, I will, because I'll be covering that. Joe will be covering the home game. Then they go to Washington. Where are you going?
Washington. That might be, I can't remember the name of that place, but it's that sports bar on the corner of where the road comes to a Y, heading to the White House to the left. It's that sports bar. It's the place.
This is not the steakhouse. Not Old Ebbitt.
No, not Old Ebbitt. It's not that far down.
Yeah.
It's a good spot, though.
Yeah. Philadelphia is the second of a back-to-back. Then a couple games. New York and New Jersey. Where are you going?
We'll have good ones there. They'll both be in New York. They won't be in New Jersey. Hoboken's a great town, but it's a great town to have a beer after the game, not dinner before.
I can't believe I even remember this. In all honesty, about the schedule, the only thing that really, to me, is interesting is the Wild are hosting, and I shouldn't say the Wild, Minnesota, Minneapolis.
I was just thinking, are you on the Washington trip?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
Well,
because if
we
you
don't
were,
know.
then we know we'd end up off the record, but we won't be there.
Yeah. I don't know yet. I sent Joe my proposal of the road trips, and he hasn't replied yet, which tells me he didn't love my proposal. And maybe this is the big reason. The Wild are hosting the World Junior Championships, obviously Minneapolis, and because of that, the Wild leave for a long road trip that starts in Winnipeg, goes to Vegas, goes to San Jose, goes to Anaheim. Oddly, it has 2 straight games in LA and ends in Seattle. That'll be a crazy road trip. So if don't have the World Junior Championship tickets, that is a perfect road trip for Wild fans to go on right after Christmas, throughout the new year, and up until the Wild return home for a January 10th game.
Yeah, there'd be an easy way to catch 3 or 4 games out in California with only one set of flights.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'd get a good bang for the buck. They're not my favorite cities to visit, LA, Anaheim, and San Jose, but you would be able to see 4 games on one trip.
Yep. So again, this has been a great trip. It started in Madrid. We had an incredible sort of day trip to Toledo, which was an awesome city. Then we came down here, Barcelona, on the bullet train. Went to a cava tasting, which I had never done before. Like it better than port, that's for sure. Biggest difference between cava and champagne is just where it's...
Well, different grapes, but also where it's from. But it's more similar to champagne than it is to Prosecco.
Right.
Prosecco's a lot younger, a little sweeter. I like cava a lot. I just picked up a bottle at the market before the show, so we'll be lugging one home with us.
A lot of tapas this trip, a lot of food tour. It wouldn't be a
Russo-LaPanta. A lot of
Russo-LaPanta.
Iberian ham and a lot of manchego. At every stop, we've had that. Well, first of all, it's just a great group. We've got an unbelievable group. We've had so much fun with this crew. Everybody, with the exception of one couple, has been on at least one trip with us before. And it's cool to get back and reunite with all those people. And to me, the tapas style of eating and the 2 tapas tours we've had, those have been the highlight. I've eaten more for lunch, if you want to call it lunch. I don't know. It's like middle of the day food. Like, I guess it's lunch. I've had more food at that time of day than I've had maybe in the last 5 years combined in the last week and a half. But I love it. It's such a great way to eat, just nibble on stuff, and a great outdoor market in Madrid that I really loved. And it was more of like a food hall it was a market, but it was more like a food hall where you could just wander from stand to stand, grab great food, great wine, great drinks, great crowd. Both cities have been lively until the wee hours. We've tested that, and it's been proven to be true. But like, not crazy wild, just crowded, relaxed fun. So it's been an unbelievable trip.
Well, our morning bus to the bullet train the other day, we got to see Madrid sort of before sunrise, and man, that was something to be seen.
Well, that's a different Madrid than you see on the way home at the end of the night.
Exactly. We're talking like 6 a.m., and it was something to be seen. I did get a funny text from a couple that is not on the trip. Last name Dahl. That
I've
said,
heard of
you need to break from LaPanta and have a fall trip. But I think it has to do more with the weather.
Yeah, and the rest of us could attest the weather's been just fine.
It really has been.
It's been fine.
Yeah. You mentioned the
Some
market.
are weak-minded and can't handle the heat.
You mentioned the market today, and Los Ramblas, right off of it, is the market here, and Michael Kenny told us to check it out. And oh my goodness, a bunch of us walked through there today, and it is something to be seen.
I just stopped there for some Iberian ham on the way back.
Well, you love the Iberian ham.
I do.
But how about the fish in there?
The fish is great. But the one in Madrid had the same thing.
Yeah.
I actually liked the one in Madrid better. They had a better vibe there. It was more of a hangout place than a shopping place.
Yeah, exactly.
But this
one you can't really just stand in the middle and nibble on stuff. You're going to get run over.
But this one, I think I tweeted a picture from there yesterday, if I remember right, just that it makes you so envious that we don't have anything like this back in Minnesota. If we did, Margo and I were walking through there the other night, and I was like, we would be here nightly to grab whatever we're going to make for dinner that night, because it's fresh seafood, it's great ham. The Iberian's my favorite, but the Serrano is good too. The food's been terrific. Manchego cheese on everything is outstanding. It's going to be hard to adjust to not having that every night.
Yeah, I know. As usual, we're going to have to detox after this trip. We've met a lot of dogs, thanks to Don, who also hosts a bunch of the Defined Destinations tours. Loves dogs, so we got to every
dog that's walked by has been greeted.
Like horrified couples. Yeah. Just all of a sudden, Dawn.
Why is this woman licking my dog?
And literally, like usually you want to be like, all right, can I pet your dog? But you just go right up for the smooch. So that has been fun.
I actually saw today, though, the one dog that chased she and Maddie away. because the dog came down and this guy, he didn't speak any English except he knew how to say bites. and they both bolted immediately.
So, the one thing that I found fascinating about Spain that I don't really remember in all of our other countries that we've done is how Americanized Barcelona and Madrid have become. Like right around the Familia in Madrid, you got McDonald's and KFC and Taco Bell and Starbucks.
How
which
about
is
the
okay.
line at Ben and Jerry's in Madrid every day?
That was crazy.
Like 80 people. I don't know what they were giving away or what they were selling there, but it was all day, every day. There were no fewer than like 75 people in line.
I don't know if it was the grand opening or free.
But even if it was, like, you had to stand in line for 40 minutes to get the most expensive thing they can give you is a bowl of ice cream. It's like they're handing out like a $100 bottle of wine or a fistful of hundreds or something. I mean, they're giving you a little cup of ice cream at best.
Favorite cathedral?
Oh, the one we saw in
Toledo. I loved.
Yeah, the one in Toledo was unbelievable. The one the one that's still under construction here is really something. It's amazing, different. But the one in Toledo, we've been in a lot of churches on these trips because I know Michael Kenny just loves his churches. He thinks if he goes and sees everyone in Europe, that then he can be
forgiven
and doesn't. Yeah. Although he couldn't take us through the door of forgiveness. Wasn't that what it was called at the one in Toledo? There was a door of forgiveness that only like 2 people can walk through every year or something like that. It was the one flat entrance. I'm remembering that, right, aren't I? I am. He's shaking his head at me. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yeah, that church, that one blew me away. Like it was so big, it almost felt like you were in a train station or something once you walked in.
Yeah.
But it's just a big cathedral, the 3rd largest in the world. So that was impressive.
And our tour guide Luis, who's been amazing, he got married in the Toledo Cathedral as well. And we were there
with us later. We invited him, but I think maybe, I don't know if that means he's afraid of the group or tired of the group or just needs a little break. He'll be with us at dinner tonight. Might be on the show here later.
The coolest part of the trip by far was that our illustrious leader from the 3 different defined destinations tours.
I think he's been on all but one.
Yeah.
If you include this one, he was with us on the first 4, missed Portugal, and then he appeared as a guest.
Yeah, he just surprised us. He showed up at our hotel in Barcelona and was waiting for us outside, and that was really special because he's become a buddy of all of ours.
Yep, our good friend Peter. There's nobody like Peter. We predicted he'd grab the mic on the bus that he wouldn't be able to resist,
and he did.
And sure enough, he did, to give us a couple of his jokes, and we had a couple good dinners with him. Really just a tremendous guy. Hopefully he's with us again on next year's trip. I think he told me, I think he listens to our podcast from time to time, so I'll say this knowing he's going to hear it, is that I told him that we were guaranteed to do 20 more trips. Michael Kenny and I agreed to that during a couple cocktails on the opening night of the trip. And Peter is in for all 20, but I think he told me about 15 times he's finishing a class that will allow him to host in any city in Europe. So as long as he does his homework and finishes this, which the number of times I heard him say how irrelevant what he was learning in the class was also mind-numbing. But he did tell me that he's now going to be able to lead tours in any country in Europe. So that means he's in for the next trip.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And that would be cool to have Luis on, but it's amazing that the tour guides here, that you have to get essentially credentialed in any city. If you just, even though our guide is from Madrid, he can't just do it in Barcelona if he doesn't have something. And you said that a couple of years ago, you and Michael Kenny watched a tour guide in Vienna get arrested.
Budapest
get arrested.
And we watched. We had a local guide, so our tour guide can lead our trip, but you have to pick up local guides to lead tours in some of the cities. You have to be licensed there. So our guide this year, Luis, was licensed in Madrid and Toledo, so he could do that. But in Budapest, our local guide, all I remember was he was bald. I can't remember his name. I don't know if you remember his name. But
Why are you looking at John?
No, I was looking at Margot to see if she remembered the name, because sometimes she remembers the names. But he was a tremendous guide, and it was coincidence that Peter and I were walking, and I was asking him why, Peter couldn't lead the tour in Budapest, and he turned to the guy and said, explain it. And the guy said, you have to be licensed here. And he said, but people will lead tours, And he said, it's a big deal. And then, like, not 10 minutes later, we watched this guy leading a group like a block down the road, and the police pulled up and arrested the guy.
Wow.
I mean, they put him in his car. I guess I don't know for sure they arrested him, but they did take him into custody and drive away. And just left, and they just left his tour group on the sidewalk. And so I don't know where they were headed next.
Capital punishment for the illegal tour guide. Montserrat was, to me, just unbelievable. You basically, there's many different ways up. You could take a bus up there. You could take a funicular up there. We took a cable car up there.
That was an impressive recollection of that word.
I know. Trust me, it burst a couple brain cells to come up with it. I can even spell it. But truly, it's a monastery up on a mountain that essentially... I don't know. You're Catholic. A bunch of monks live in, and they
it's called a monastery.
Yeah. I mean, but it truly was unreal, and the fact that this thing, like, you could even build this thing into the carved out mountain south of Barcelona.
What's always amazing in all these great old buildings that we've seen, structures, it's how did they get it up there?
Yeah.
I mean, and out of all places here, they decide that's where we want to build the monastery, is way up there, now that it's there, it's really cool. But it does defy logic how they're able to transport, because they didn't have the funicular to get the bricks up there.
No, they did not. But I always think that, like, wherever you go into these cathedrals that are, 500-600 years old, and how they ever built stuff back then.
We went to the town of Girona. Am I saying that right? Girona, is that where we were today? Yeah, an unbelievable town, which anybody that is a fan of Game of Thrones would have appreciated it. I watched the show, but I wouldn't say I was like a diehard fan of it. But they filmed a bunch of the scenes there. They used these old buildings as the buildings that were in the background for the show. But it was one of the typical old Roman cities where they still had the medieval wall around it. And as you walk the edge of this wall, I just am always amazed by the way the culture lived back then. They stood on top of this wall, and I don't know how anybody ever conquered anybody, because I don't know how the hell you'd get like on the other side of the wall once they've got it built. And the way that they built it and the time it would have taken to build it are just amazing to me. The way that they created these, how barbaric the days were, where if you walked outside the walls, you're taking your life into your hands. But that was really cool to see this city. And it was interesting because the local tours we walked past maybe 8 of them, I'd say, and maybe there were a couple that were talking about the history of the cathedral and the who came, when, and where. The other 6 were all Game of Thrones tours, where they were walking around. The guy was out of an iPad, and he'd show you the scene in the show, and then here's the building where it was, and showing you. Sorry, I just opened the door again by waving my hand. Even though we're in Spain, I'm an Italian. I talk with my hands, so the door is going to keep opening behind me. But the way that they showed how they used the green screen, so it was like this building, but they wanted it to be on the water, so they used a green screen to make it look like the ocean was right at the base of it. And I happen to just peer over people's shoulders to listen and watch some of these scenes. But that's what now this town is probably most famous for, is the fact that Game of Thrones was filmed there.
Yeah, it would have been fun to go there. We went to the Maritime Museum today in the aquarium, which was awesome. My mother brought, I think, a second bag or a wallet or something. So she went shopping. By the way, again, if you want to, if you're bored of this podcast and want to know everything that we're talking about, you could come on these trips, and we'll be doing another awesome one next year as well. When we come back, I promise we're going to talk some Minnesota Wild. We have a chair right next to us, a microphone, and we're going to invite guests on the trip to come up and ask their wild questions. So come up with some good ones. We have our sponsors coming up, and what was really neat, so a bunch of us went to dinner last night at a really good steakhouse that John over there picked out, and they bring out the water, and the bottles all say Connecticut Water Systems. So here, one of the sponsors, which is Aquarius Home Services, which is your local authorized dealer for Connecticut Water Systems. They even are overseas. We got to get you some Connecticut Water Systems.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I could use some good water.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be right back. Do you want sparkling dishes, soft laundry, and crisp, clean water straight from the tap? Well, you can get all of that with the Connecticut system from Aquarius Home Services. And it's refreshingly affordable. Enjoy worry-free water throughout your home for less than what you spend on a cup of coffee each day. And now is the time to upgrade. Right now, for a limited time, you can save up to 25% on a new Connecticut water treatment system. And you get started by scheduling your free water analysis with Aquarius Home Services. How do you do this? Well, visit AquariusHomeservices.com for details. That's AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. And don't forget to mention that Russo sent you.
Deer hunting season is here, and it's time to own your odds with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. With the Hunt app, you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, tracks, and much more, all at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt. That's onxmaps.com/hunt to sign up today.
It's time for change. Experience better banking and put your financial goals in motion with Royal Credit Union. It's time to get more from your checking account, upgrade your vehicle, or finally build your dream home. Royal offers the financial solutions you need and the advice you can trust to plan for what's next. Better banking is one change away. It's time to switch to Royal Credit Union. Get started at rcu.org/time. Insured by NCUA. Loan subject to credit approval. Equal housing opportunity.
Back here, Worst Seats in the House, Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta. We are 19 minutes into the show. We have not talked about the Minnesota Wild other than when where Anthony and I are going to be going on the road this season out to dinner.
Yeah, well, nothing's happened since the last time we did a show.
Although there was one thing that happened, and it happened our first night here, and I'm having dinner with Tammy and Steve and everybody. Maybe it was our second or third night. We were at a tapas tour, and all of a sudden everybody like freaks out and telling me that like Kaprizov signed, and I'm like, there is no way that Kaprizov signed, and I would not have gotten some sort of heads up. And it turned out it was Michael Milne.
You think there was a chance it would have happened and I wouldn't have gotten the heads up?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So let's talk 20 minutes about Michael Milne. He signed. But obviously nothing's happened since everything. I did do some checking today on the Marco Rossi situation. Marco, it's just continued to be quiet, which we kind of alluded to on our last podcast. So we thought they would they haven't talked in a while that we know of, that there would be some sort of break. Right now, there's no pressure because he has no arbitration rights. We are 16 days into his eligibility to sign an offer sheet. As of now, he hasn't signed an offer sheet. Doesn't mean that it's not happening. And I think this is just the Wild's way of saying, you know what? We're going to wait a bit, and we're going to try to eventually go back to the table and try to come to some sort of compromise.
Sign. I mean, he will sign. There's no, especially now, free agency's passed. There aren't other options out there. There's no way another team signs him into an offer sheet that Billy won't match. And what's his alternative? To just not play hockey for the year?
Yeah,
and he will sign.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I've seen some pictures. He is freaking working his butt off right now. Like he looks like a monster. His hips are the size of mine, and that's not.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's a ringing endorsement of a guy's workout.
So there you go. I mean, but climbing the mountain, like the Alps, and it's just all sorts of. He's trying to put on some muscle. I mean, like Zeev Boyum, and he talked about it at the development camp a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there are certain, the Matt Harder and the staff come up with off-season workout plans for these guys, and the edict for Marco is to try to get stronger. Not that he has ever been weak, but he's always
had a pretty thick, bottom half. His legs. He's a lot bigger guy than he looks when he plays. Just because when he plays, what you see is his height. You don't see him like after the game when he's walking around in the locker room or on the plane. I mean, he's a much bigger guy than most people probably realize, but his work ethic and willingness to do work has never been questioned.
Yeah.
And not by the organization either. I mean, even though they've said we'd like you to be bigger and stronger, it isn't because they haven't liked his work ethic in the past.
Right.
I mean, there have been other guys where they've been, you need to come to camp this much lighter, this much, you need to add this much muscle mass. With Marco, it's just kind of a blanket statement. You need to be stronger, but it has never been because they've questioned his work ethic.
Right, and in the gym, he's always been a fitness freak, and where he goes on the ice to score his goals, you almost have to be, right? I mean, he takes a lot of
more goals closer to the net than anybody on the team.
Yep.
And it was by a 2-1 margin over Jules Eriksson Ek, who was the next closest.
Yep.
And I'm not talking like sheer number because Ek missed some games. it was per 60 minutes. He was double Eriksson Ek for goals. I'm going to forget the distance now. It was either 10 or 12 feet that we did the search, but everybody just assumes Eriksson Ek's the guy who's always in the blue paint, always has his nose around the net. Rossi actually scored twice as many as he did from that range.
Yeah, sounds like a courageous player that could function in the playoffs, Anthony.
Yeah, he could. Because, I mean, it's all about the hips he has.
Yeah. As far as Kaprizov, again, I have no reason to believe that there's anything wrong here. I think it's a complicated structure, I'm sure, that you're dealing with. And the other thing is, for all we know, I mean, it could even be agreed to. Like, they're not going to sign Kirill Kaprizov while Bill Guerin's in Europe and Kaprizov's in Moscow.
Well, we're in Europe.
Well, that's the most important thing. But Kaprizov's also, like, he's on vacation now at home. Not vacation, he's working out, getting ready for the season, but he's at home. And the Wild, when they sign the richest contract in franchise history and make him, for at least temporarily, if he gets to sign before McDavid, the highest paid player in the NHL, they're going to want to do some freaking grand show, and they're not going to want to do it via Zoom while he's in Moscow. So, it just makes all the sense in the world to do the bells and whistles when he comes back. Right now, we're just going to continue to trust Bill Guerin when he continues to be confident that it's going to get done.
Yeah, I think if there was trouble, we'd have heard about it.
Yeah. If you want to come on up, let's ask a question. We're going to start with...
It is shocking that Ken is the first guy to the chair. All right, Ken, what do you got?
Any fun? We got to introduce every person with some sort
Ken
of...
Ken has been with us on...
How many trips now?
I think all but one. Oh, 4 out of 6. That's right. But you usually leave early, so that you didn't.
Yeah, you're usually not at these podcasts,
right? And what's a good Ken story so far from this?
Ken has been coming.
Well, we did throw red wine on him at that one bar.
Yeah. So we were at a different top. I mean, just to show you how much tapas we have. So this was a cool night. We go to this tapas bar that Michael Kenny knew, and you go in there, and Michael orders 10 boiling hot. Thank God it wasn't the shrimp that wound up on it.
That's right. That would have been worse.
So 10 like sizzling. Like
that stayed
bowls.
hot forever. Those
I know
bowls. I don't know what they're made of. But once they got done cooking them, they set them on the table. They sizzled for like another 20 minutes.
And then, so we were taking a picture, which you could see on one of Anthony's reels, I'm sure. And
but you won't see the wine that came.
Yeah.
Out
So Anthony, as he got done with the picture, he hits my. This happens a lot to me. It seems hits his elbow into my elbow, and of course I'm having wine, and it just goes straight in the air and lands one spot. All over Ken's right leg.
The only thing I would say in our defense is Ken was told by Margot at least 6 times to not stand in the walkway and to move over by the wall. She actually said, "Ken, go stand over there by the wall." And Ken turned and said, "I like to be in the way." And then karma, that's exactly what he said. I know he can't, not yet. Ken can't, but Ken knows this is factual. And Ken's response was, "I like to be in the way." So I think it was karma that came back to bite him. And he wound up with his pair of pants that was white. Now it's white and red polka dot.
Well, Ken is our longest, most loyal podcast listener, because even since the days that Suhan was my co-host, he used to come to a lot of the live shows, especially at Hell's Kitchen, back when you were not retired. And you'd leave your fancy office, I'm sure, on the 50th floor of one of those buildings, and came down in your suit and asked Charlie Coyle questions.
So first of all, I deny everything about that incident, except for the fact that
you're under oath right now.
That was a legitimate NBA elbow that Anthony put into Russo. There's no question about that. So I've got 2 questions that are related. First of all, obviously the Wild are counting on their young prospects to really come through this year. So as among Buyum, Yurov, Ogren, Wallstedt, who's the most likely to have a significant positive effect for the Wild? And then also, who of those 4 might be a disappointment? And then somewhat related is, not counting Hinostroza, who we know is probably not going to make the roster, are there any veterans that look like they are particularly vulnerable during training camp to not making the team?
Okay, perfect. You might have to remind me of some of them, and then Anthony could answer it too. I would say the first one that you asked about the prospects, I think Boyum is the most likely because he's probably going to be your number one power play guy. He's going to get regular minutes. Maybe by mid-season, we'll start to see a Urov get elevated. But right now, Urov in camp is going to have to sort of work his way up the lineup. I think going into camp, if they're healthy, he might even be the 13th forward. That would be sort of what pops in my head right away. I don't know about disappointment. I'll be curious to see how Liam Ogren, if he looks like he took a real step.
I think he has to take a step this year if he's going to be if his prospect status is still legit. This year has to be a year where he not only passes eye tests, but he has to start to produce.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And again, watching his Instagram or his family, his dad's a professional trainer in Sweden, has a bunch of, NHL players, Rickard Rakell being one of them. That kid, he's also a monster in the gym. So he's coming into camp ready, and he obviously got the message in Iowa. Not got the message because he just was young. And he goes down there, he scored one of the biggest goals of the Wild season, gets sent down because of cap reasons right after the trade deadline or right before the trade deadline. And he went down there and he just lit it up. So I think that Iowa worked for him. And now we'll see if he takes a step similar to maybe Rossi did a couple years ago. Your other question, I agree with you on Hinostroza. I don't think that he is going to be somebody that makes the team if they're healthy. If they're not healthy, let's just say one of those kids looks like they're not going to either be ready to play regular minutes or can't play regular minutes. I don't think they'd send Urov down, but I think Hinostroza can make the team if he's maybe the 13th guy or something like that.
I think it's more about I don't know that there's a veteran guy that's in danger of not making the team, but I think there are veteran guys that are in danger of not having the role in the lineup that they'd like. Yeah. And that's on guys like Ogren, Urov, and even Boyum to some degree to outplay them in camp. And so if that happens, then it's guys like Johansson, it's guys like Trenyan, it's a guy on the back end. It would be guys like Bogosian, I guess, that would be the guys whose minutes could disappear quickly if the young guys outplay them.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Ken? Or you'll come back later? Yeah, that's fine. Who is next? Next up to the. Does Vinny have some thoughts?
Vinny had. He did. What was he sent it to you, I thought.
Us.
Yeah, us.
Yeah, it was a.
Actually, one of them I thought was interesting because he just said with the
he did ask us, and I bet you I almost bet 95% that you don't even know what he's talking about the golf fight.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
So
right,
do you have any thoughts on the golf fight? I'm sure you've both seen it by now, and
there's no chance you were. How did he think that you would have seen that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's talking about.
You know why you haven't seen it? Because it's absolutely everywhere. It's all over social media. And yet, as much as you are in social media posting, you don't ever consume anybody else because you're selfish.
No, I'm not selfish.
You don't want to see what anybody else has to say in the world. This thing has been exploded.
This actually brings up an interesting comment because I saw you get the thing on your iPhone that tells you like what your phone usage is for the
every
week
Sunday
or whatever. Yeah, every Sunday. And if you click on it, it shows you what where it's used. And so we're sitting at dinner one night late in the season, and Kevin Gorg made a comment about like how much I spend on social media. I said, I spend 0 time on social media, literally 0. Other than like when I post, I'll post a picture and then I leave it. And I don't go back and I know I should. I don't go back and even read the comments about it. But so Gorg at the table that night was like, there's no, like you spend more. I said, I'll guarantee you everybody at this table has more time on social media than me. Yeah. Now, Gorg doesn't have an iPhone. That's why all the text chains have the stupid green bubble when he's involved. But everybody else could do it. We looked, and mine was like 21 minutes a week on social media. And that's like 19 minutes of me posting stuff.
Right.
I don't consume any social media really ever.
So the golf fight that and maybe somebody could talk about it more of it, but essentially the golf fight that Vinny is talking about is that there's a guy playing slow, playing golf, and he is obliterating. He's playing with a buddy of his, and it's clearly up in Canada because he had the thickest Canadian accent ever. And this group behind him starts getting irritated that he was playing slow, and the one guy starts screaming at him, telling him to go, and then the guy decides to really slow play, and he goes over his ball, and he basically just starts almost animatedly not playing around, not trying to play fast. And finally he erupts and gets into the other guy's face and starts, I can't remember what exactly he started saying, but it was essentially like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Well, it turns out the guy that was yelling at him for playing slow turned out to be a former NHL enforcer. What's his name? Tarnetsky, something like that. I should know it, but he was mostly a professional enforcer, played a cup of coffee in the NHL. And this guy says to him, "Get away from me or I'm going to throw you in the lake." The drunk guy pushes him, and what does he do? He takes him and flings him into the lake.
The ex-NHL enforcer guy?
The ex-NHL enforcer guy flings him in the lake, okay? Now the guy gets out of the lake humiliated, and he decides to go back for more, and then this guy not only grabs him, but starts punching his face, and while punching his face starts going, bam, 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 like beats the living crap out of him. And then the guy gets up, he's clearly got his bell rung, and decides to come in for more, and the guy just grabs him and like flings him in the air like he was like, I mean, it was like a wrestling match. And what was unbelievable about it is, so this thing goes viral. Then all of a sudden everybody realizes this is a former hockey player, so then it really goes viral. And then the guy that got his ass kicked actually came out with a video basically explaining, like, this is why you shouldn't drink on a golf course. Essentially took his beating like a man. Not like, oh, now I know who this guy is, I'm going to sue the living crap out of him. It was unbelievable.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I wish I remembered
my
his
thoughts
name.
on it are that it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
don't play slow.
Yeah. There is no, first of all, I would love that to happen to you. Anyway.
Well, how is it possible?
Like, how great would it be if somebody just came
Michael,
up to you
we've
and
talked
started
about
yelling
this
at you?
before. Like, I got in a fight when I was 8, I think. I was in second grade. That's the only fight I've ever been in my life. It was with my best friend.
I thought you never got punched.
No, he punched me in the stomach. I punched him in the arm, and then our principal picked us both up by the neck and carried us up to the school. We both weighed about 41 pounds, probably. That's the only. I've never been punched in the face, but that was the only fight I've ever been in my life. I was 8 years old. I don't argue with people, especially not. I'd be like, "Oh, bud, just go ahead and play through."
And what was Vinny's other thought?
His other one was actually interesting. I mean, that one was interesting, too. He said, do you think with the cap going up that it impacted teams' ability to re-sign their players and therefore made free agency really uneventful because the teams were willing to give more than expected to their own players as they realized that there were just too much money out there? Yeah.
And what was interesting, too, is some of those players like Tavares, Giroux, they probably took way under market value than what they could have gotten, like, say, from the Minnesota Wild. You know that if Tavares goes to the open market as Giroux, that the Wild are probably going after both of them. And definitely Brock Nelson, although he got probably more than maybe not more than the Wild would have given him, but more than most other teams. And I think that shows the motivation that Colorado had because they given up so much to get him that they felt like they had to sign him.
And when we talked about that at the deadline, with what guys were getting in return at the deadline, almost forced these teams' hands. Like they had to re-sign him, or else what they gave up was going to cripple him.
Right.
But I think it'll be interesting to watch over the next couple of years because with everybody knowing that the cap's going up, it's going to make it difficult. That would have been impressive. That would have been an impressive limbo to see. One of our guests just was trying to walk underneath a screen that's been lowered for sound purposes with 2 drinks in his hand and had to do like a limbo to get underneath it.
Yeah.
As a side note, that's
to Vinny,
for those who can't see.
Yeah. For Vinny's point also, like, about it being uneventful, I do think that's why the few free agents that were available got really overpaid for the most part. I mean, I don't want to say Besser got overpaid, but Vancouver felt like they wanted to pay him, and but Ellers sure did. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Like he's a consistently.
I think
he's
they
a
both
consistently
did, but
good player.
but the point I was going to make is that looking over the next few years, I think that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
With the cap continuing to go up, teams are going to have a better ability to keep their own, which is going to change free agency
and probably make it lesser quality players, I would say, or guys. Let's just put it this way: if you're a free agent now, it's going to probably be 100% because the team that just didn't want to re-sign you. You know, I mean that's what it's going to come down to. Paul.
Yeah. Do you think your stock, Michael, as a future GM, took a hit because you couldn't talk Brad Marchand into coming to Minnesota?
Yeah, probably. I definitely tampered for my own selfish reasons.
You have some good Brad Marchand stories from the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed covering him. A lot of it, just listening to him even off the record, shoot the you know what, with the, I'm trying to help our producer not have to beep anything out.
Here we go.
Yep.
Add that to the number.
Yeah. We were, what was that the other week?
We had talked about, somebody asked if we ever cussed on the podcast. And I said, if there have been 40 cuss words on the podcast, 40 have been from Mike Russo in the past.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to his ability to just hold court with writers and I think understand the game, so to speak. Like he gets it. He gets that it's a show. I mean, the stuff with the Dairy Queen stuff was genius. But I was impressed because I covered him at the Four Nations, and watching him in Canada, I really thought that his game was that he was done and he wouldn't be an Olympian. And now I think that he's going to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
I just really was impressed with him and the way that he really, I don't want to say took Lundell and Lusterinen under his wing because those guys were great players already, but he really allowed them to now become more offensive and develop maybe more of a personality than we've seen from them before.
He was a third line too, wasn't he?
Third line left
Having
wing.
him on your third line.
Right.
Oh.
And frankly, I mean, Tarasenko was there when they won the Stanley Cup, but if you remember, Tarasenko offensively did not score nearly as much as Marchand, and those guys didn't score nearly as much.
Yeah, they said they needed 1 goal a series out of Tarasenko.
Yeah, and they basically got that.
Yep.
So what did he score? I think 5, Anthony?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do have something on the Wild. The biggest character I know of is Jake Middleton.
Mm-hmm.
And he's hilarious. You had him on 2 years ago.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And he was doing it with and without his teeth.
Yeah.
And, Dawn, I know Dawn's here. It was her favorite player because it's the first hockey player she's ever seen. And, right? Yeah, it was her favorite player for a while. And so I always thought, he has this big grin on his face, either with teeth or without teeth. What's a goofier smile? Jake with teeth, Jake without teeth, or Anthony?
I would say Jake without teeth.
I don't know if
you have a
my
goofy
smile
smile?
Goofy? I don't know.
I don't know. You just have a big,
I love that.
toothy grin and
Yeah.
a big non-toothy grin. Just think if you get whacked in the face one of these days with a golf club.
That would be. I got hit in the eye with a golf ball one time.
And with a cork. Oh, by the way,
the
tell
cork,
them how you know how to do champagne cork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
That was good.
You did learn something this
We
trip.
did during our Cava tour. There was, number one, this guy was the most impressive sparkling wine opener I've ever seen.
Yes.
It was silent.
Yeah, he showed you how to do it.
He showed me how to do it, which I didn't know how to open them, not like he can. But when we did share the story with him about me getting hit in the eye, he was dumbfounded. And how'd you do that? It's like, why'd you look at it?
Why'd you look at it?
These are questions I can't answer. But it was fascinating to watch the way he did it, and I'm going to try it.
If people don't remember the story, just you don't have to tell it.
Yeah.
You don't have to rehash the story about you how and why you shot yourself in the eye with the cork, but rehash the story about you somehow calling this game blind. That part was unbelievable.
Tough. I had hit myself.
We were
in
in
the
Tampa.
eye. We were in Tampa, and the only reason we were opening champagne on a game day was that it was Margot's birthday, and she had flown down. It was like a 5:00 game, so she was gonna have champagne before the. Why? I have to explain why we're drinking champagne on a game day.
Oh, Margot's pissed.
Right,
this is great.
She's pissed. Margot's had a tough day. She got lost in a train station. I had to go find her at some other taxi stand, and we barely made it back from wherever we were, Girona. I didn't know she was missing. I will agree. The rest of the group was the one that informed me that my wife wasn't there. but then I did go find her, and we did get her back. And we had an Uber that had been ordered to the wrong hotel. So we had a little bit of an adventure coming back today. We needed our tour guide, Michael Kenny, to be paying attention. Anyway, in the morning, I hit myself in the eye with a champagne cork, and I was looking at it, but it was only because I was taking the wire off. I hadn't even taken the wire off yet. And as I looked down to get the wire off, the cork flew up and hit me right in the eye. Lost vision in that eye. And I had at the time, I forget what it's called, monovision or something, contact lenses, where one was for distance and one was for close up, and it hit me in the distance eye. So my close-up eye only worked for about 4 feet away. It was to read my notes, and that was it. So I called the game with the wrong lens in the other eye, and then just had to cover my left eye the whole day because otherwise it was blurry because I couldn't see anything out of that eye. So I called the game covering one eye with my my palm, and it was brutal. And then saw the Tampa eye specialist after the game.
Yeah, we got lucky because the next day we were flying, I think, to Philadelphia.
We had a day off the next day, and then we flew to Philly the following day. But I had a couple, it was a day and a half of not being able to see anything out of that eye, which was terrifying. The Cava guy found it entertaining and a little dumbfounding, but he did. I was tempted to ask him, "Can I try your method?" But I didn't think legally it'd allow me to do that.
He made it so seamless that I even think I know how to do it now. It's 6 twists, and then you turn the bottle,
not the cork.
Yeah, there you go.
It was interesting.
Seems easy. All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
And I want to tell you about Twill in the Edina Galleria. Scott Dayton's Twill in the Edina Galleria. TwillMN.com is the website. I'm wearing my Johnny O hat. I'm wearing one of my many Peter Millar shirts. Johnny O and Peter Millar are two of my favorite brands out of Twill in the Edina Galleria. When I've been going to Wolves game lately, I've been wearing my Dingman shoes. I've been wearing my Brax pants, my either Peter Millar or Johnny O shirts, pullovers. The Wolves games are weird because they're really cold, and then they turn on the fire jets before the game and singe your eyebrows. You need to be prepared for all kinds of different temperatures in that building. And I just use all my Twill stuff. And as we do more shows here at TalkNorth.com on video, I'll be wearing more Twill stuff because it's really simple. I don't always try to look good. Sometimes I'm very happy being a slob, and I wear old sweats and T-shirts. If I'm trying to look presentable in any way, Talk North meetings, sponsor meetings, big games, going out in public, going out to dinner, I just put on something I bought at Twill. It's just that simple. If I put on something I bought at Twill, I'm going to look good. I'm playing a Randy Shaver's golf tournament on Monday. I'm going to wear Twill stuff to that too. Golf, walk around town, dinner, whatever. TwillMN.com. Go to Twill in the Edina Galleria. They're laid back. They love talking sports. They're nice people. Tell them we sent you. You'll have a good time, and you'll end up walking out with something great.
If you're looking for a refreshing THC drink, well, check out Giggly. It tastes like your favorite cocktail with no aftertaste and just pure, bold flavor. It's made with real fruit juice and all natural ingredients. It's a Minnesota-made gem. You can find it at liquor stores and Quick Trip locations across Minnesota, or get it shipped nationwide. Plus, with a new low pricing and low-calorie options, it's the perfect guilt-free sip. Try Giggly today. Back here, worst seats in the house, Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta, coming to you from Barcelona, from the beautiful Pulitzer Hotel. Great little venue here across the street from our hotel. All right. We'll do Twitter questions in a second, but Tammy is up here who gave me the heart attack initially that Kaprizov signed.
Well, in talking about vision, I just have to say that I didn't have my readers on when I saw that, and it was on my watch, and the picture was blurry. But boy, he looked like Kirill Kaprizov, I thought. So I'm sorry I gave you a little.
The funniest
scare.
thing is that after I tweeted it, you weren't the only one. A lot of people thought it.
See?
Yeah, so apparently his picture does look like Kaprizov.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let's see. I probably should ask a hockey question, shouldn't I? I mostly do this because I like to listen to myself talk. But no. What do you think it's going to take for the Wild to be a playoff team?
Anthony? Well, they're always a playoff team.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
what to get through the first round of playoffs? My boys were so distressed this year.
Yeah.
So I
heard they're big Justin Brazo fans.
yeah. Adam sent his dad quite the voicemail about Brazo and then Rand, and then they were a little concerned about why would they get Tarasenko too. But
Yeah.
just my question is, what'll it take?
Their best players have to be healthy, and this year I believe they'll be right there with the better teams in the conference. But you still have to have things go your way. You still have to be healthy. You still have to get good goaltending. I don't know that
health
much
is
has
the
to
big
be,
thing.
It is.
Like I know. Like I always feel like I'm making excuses for this past season, but Kaprizov missed 41 games. Take McDavid out of Edmonton's lineup. Well, maybe not McDavid because they have two superstars there, but take any superstar.
Well, take McDavid for 41 and then take Draisaitl for the number of games that Eriksson Ek missed.
Right.
Have those guys play 12 games together all season
Yeah.
and see what happens, because that's what the Wild had with their top two players.
Yeah, I mean, just take any superstar in this league. So that's it. But then it was just a laundry list of injury after injury after injury, and again, and then it was interesting how they started to get guys back, and they just really started to struggle. Like I remember when we were on Long Island, it looked like this team was in deep trouble, and they basically almost were. Kaprizov and Ek came back for the final 2 or 3 games, and they really eked into the playoffs, let's say, because he scored a miracle goal with the net empty. If he doesn't score that, the Wild don't miss the playoffs, and Lord knows where we'd be right now in terms of like what changes might have been made. I really do think health is paramount. Like when this team was healthy,
they weren't the same.
Yeah,
they just weren't. And Kaprizov had missed the second half of the season. He wasn't on top of his game in the playoffs, and Eriksson Ek was still banged up, even though he came back and played. He still wasn't 100%.
Yeah, he had core muscle surgery. So,
and with all that, they were still probably the better team for at least half of that series, and maybe the majority. If they don't get the offside call, they probably win the series, and they'll be right there with these better teams. But
I mean, look at 2 years ago, Vegas, who had won the cup, they missed the playoffs, and what was going on that year? They were just devastated by injury. It's real. I know fans don't want to hear it, but they are in a very tough division, and health. I mean, it's just because of the narrative that they always lose in the first round. I think we're all forgetting that one big reason why this season was such a struggle down the stretch was because of the injuries. And what was disappointing is then they played well enough to win in the first round. They can't get over the hump. So look, they have to get over the hump. That's what it comes down to. In the playoffs, they were, even though they were. They were healthy from a body standpoint, and they didn't get it done. So they've got to get it done. It's that simple. John?
Yeah, so one of the questions that always nags on my mind is a follow-up to the Wild needing to stay healthy, and that is the NHL produces a physical game. That's what they sell. Mm-hmm. Does the league do enough to protect teams and the team's interest in players, do you think? Is it just inherent to the game, or can they restructure and make it either safer or more consequences for 40-game injuries?
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting. It's an interesting question, but I don't think it has much to do with what the league could do to police it better. When you look at, I mean, some of these injuries have been a block shot off your ankle that breaks a guy's foot and puts him out. There were and have been for sure injuries that have been because of hits, cheap shots, penalties. I think they do a decent job of, for the most part. I think they under-discipline guys when it comes toward the end of the season, and especially in the playoffs, where they are just so terrified to take a guy out for more than one game in a playoff, and it drives me crazy because his hit on a player might knock him out for 3 weeks. And yet they'll say, and even when it's egregious, like I always go back to the Duncan Keith play against Charlie Coyle, mm-hmm. where he takes a swing at him with a stick, and they suspend him for one game where he misses an inconsequential game at the end of a season, rather than saying, you could have ended this guy's career and we don't want you to miss a playoff game. It was ridiculous.
Well, 2013, right? Or was it 20? No. When was Pominville? It was 13, right? When Pominville got elbowed, they acquired him that year, right? In San Jose.
They acquired him in the spring of 13.
Yeah. So it's 3 games left in the season. He gets elbowed in the head as a concussion. Dustin Brown did it. He gets 2 games, 2 meaningless final regular season games, and Pominville's head is scrambled eggs, and then going into the postseason.
And I've talked to a couple general managers about it. Like, could you do something where it had something to do with how long the guy was out? But you really can't do that, because what if the guy is healthy and they're like, hey, we'd rather have him out of the lineup than that guy back for them. Sometimes I've even heard guys who have thrown out the potential, which I don't know how it could work, say the team that the hit was against gets to decide when those games are served a suspension, which you couldn't ever do it, but it is an interesting thought where you'd say, like, look, he cheap shots our guy. We're without him for 3 games. The 3 games that he's now suspended are against teams that we're chasing in the standings. We'd actually like him to be in the lineup for those games, rather than we want him to miss the next 3 times he plays us. And so that would be one thing you could consider, is like, if a guy ever gets suspended, maybe one of the games has to be the next time they play you, whether it's this year, next year. You can't do it. But these are all interesting conversations people have just kind of thrown out, usually over a beer, like, what if you did this? And it does make you think a little bit.
We'll go to Twitter questions unless anybody else wants to pop up here, come up here, and I'll start it with some Twitter questions. Here, Nate wants to know, Anthony, what's your favorite wine you've sampled on your trip so far? I had a great, was it Rioja?
No, Rioja is the region.
Yeah, so I had a great Rioja.
Yeah. We had a lot of those
at
that
one
are
of
really
the tapas tours that we did in Madrid.
The Rioja is a region. I like most of the Tempranillos from there. I really haven't paid too close attention to what the vineyards have been. But
have you liked the wine?
Yeah, I've liked the wine a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of Albariños. We've been drinking those at home for a couple of years now and haven't had a bad one over here. But the wine's been good. And I have sampled a few others that I'd say are good, but my favorite is still any Tempranillo from the Rioja region. Mm-hmm. Haven't been disappointed.
Another question, what's been the most hilarious thing that's ever happened on any of these trips that you could talk about, besides Margot getting lost?
I think...
I had a funny moment yesterday with Michael Kenny where I told him that when I retire, I want to host like Don, and he's like, no effing way. Yeah. He's like, you would just worry about yourself. And that time in Sicily when the airport caught on fire, and I booked my entire family a high-speed train off the island and didn't think about you all.
Right.
I think that probably made me that
might have sealed your fate as a guy incapable of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's probably the on all the trips we've had. I mean, we've had so many great moments, but clearly, I mean, the airport getting caught on fire in Catania and then not being able to find the bus driver was, I mean, that's going to be number one on the list.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It will always be number one, and we'll just leave it at that without any further details in that story.
Let's put it this way: my mom shouldn't have paid him his tip early. So another funny one was our first ever trip. Within 1 hour of being in Dublin, we go up to the castle, and Michael Kennedy goes to me, so we need a co-host. So I had already been pretty much like, we can't have Russo singly host. We need. So
that's because I'm the ambassador of goodwill. We've talked about that already on this trip.
With a goofy smile, apparently.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
In hockey, why do they always say upper body or lower body injury and never disclose more?
I mean, the reason they say is because of targeting injuries, and we have seen it. I mean, what was the Edmonton series? Rupe Hintz broke his foot, and was it Evan Bouchard went right over to him,
just gave him a whack across the top of the foot. And it was early in the time the NHL went exclusively to that, because prior to that, they'd sometimes hide it. But I went to, I'll never forget it. I was having coffee with Ryan Suter and Zach Parise in Nashville one day, and I said, do you really think players would, if they knew that this guy's injury was his knee? And they said, absolutely, in the playoffs, every guy would. If you knew that he had a broken foot, you just give him a little whack across the top of the laces. It's not like you're trying to injure him, but you're going to make his foot hurt like hell for the rest of that game. And it's not going to be a penalty. It's just going to be a little whack as we're heading to the bench. And so that's why they do it. There are some guys who will, and especially in the playoffs, they're playing for the cup. And if they know this guy had a bad shoulder, if it means finishing one more check might make him a little weaker the rest of the series, they're going to do it.
And the Florida-Edmonton series in particular was absolutely ruthless, some of the stuff that went out there. Final couple minutes of the show. If you have any questions coming up to the hot seat, until you do, I'm going to ask some Twitter questions. Austin from, I think, International Falls, would the Wild be interested in Robo from Dallas? I mean, the question is, what can you trade for him? If they need a right shot defenseman.
They really need a right shot anybody. When you think about their roster.
Dallas?
No, Minnesota.
Oh, no, yeah, that's what I mean. Dallas needs a right shot defenseman, and I don't know the Wild have somebody that they would be able to trade for him there. And the other thing is, I mean, he didn't make the Four Nations for a reason. And, the Wild GM ran the Four Nations team. And is Dallas trading him inside the division? Like, if Dallas makes that trade, they're going to try to trade for a right shot D, I think so. Like Rasmus Sanderson or something like that.
A really good player. Might even say he's a great scorer, but he's not a game-changing player. He doesn't dominate games like Kirill does.
Yeah. I got a lot of Mason McTavish questions. I'll get to that in a second.
Ken's back.
Well, you predicted I would come back for one more, so you had to take another shot. And I know you've kind of danced around this a bit, but thinking of Alstead, I know the Wild have talked about, well, he was hurt, and the defense down in Iowa was pretty weak, but is there concern about whether he really can step up and be a number 2 this year and maybe a number 1 in a year or two?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, he had a poor year. But also, some guys, I mean, it's not even some guys, a lot of guys play better when they get to the NHL than they do in the AHL. That is a weird league. Not a lot of structure sometimes. The blue liners aren't great. Clearly those blue liners down there are still trying to develop, and so we'll have to see. But yeah, I think that you put him in a Wild uniform behind their blue line in their structure, and it could be an easier life for him. But the clock is ticking, so to speak. Anthony,
he has to have a better year.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of factors last year that mentally it really hurt him early and wore him down. But yeah, he has to be good. He's got to play 25 games minimum.
We're about to wrap up the show, but I mentioned Mason McTavish. A lot of people are just saying Mason. So Mason McTavish is Group 2 free agent for Anaheim, also unsigned in a contract dispute. Marco Rossi, obviously, Group 2 for Minnesota, both forwards. A lot of people wondering, could they do an old-fashioned swap? And would the Wild ever consider that? I don't know. I mean, would they? I mean, maybe. I don't know if Pat Verbeek would consider it. I don't know if Bill Guerin would consider it. So basically, is an I don't know. I don't know what you think of Mason McTavish. To me, I mean, he's a heck of a player, but they're sort of production-wise on par. They're both in contract disputes. So the other thing is you do that swap, and now the Wild have to get a contract done with Mason McTavish. And I don't know if the Wild are going to pay him what he thinks he deserves. So I don't know.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what any of those discussions might be. My guess would be McTavish would probably command a little bit more in terms of dollars than Rossi would, but probably similar in terms of where they are in their careers right now.
Somebody asked me if Carroll's waiting for McDavid to sign. I would say McDavid's more likely waiting for Carroll to sign. Any other final questions, or we're going to wrap up the show? July 28th is our next live show. Again, that's July 28th at Tuttle's, 7 p.m. Anthony, do you have that? Margo, do you have that on Anthony's calendar? Are you sure?
I'll be there.
All right. July 28th, our live show. This has been an awesome trip to Barcelona. Always
great.
humbling that so many return people come back to this. Next year, we're doing what? Como, Michael? That's what we're thinking? Como, Switzerland, south of France.
It'll be announced shortly.
Norwegian fjords. Yeah. Shortly, the key word there, Michael Kenny. Another great Defined Destinations tour. Thanks to our incredible sponsors, Aquarius Home Services, your local authorized dealer for Connecticut water treatment systems that they also apparently have here in Barcelona. Clamshell Beach Resorts, Giggly THC Beverages, Onyx Maps, Twill in the Edina Galleria, and Royal Credit Unions. Talk to you next week, Anthony, and then July 28th for everybody else at Tuttle's at 7 p.m. We'll be back next week. See ya.
So much coming.